The Galactic Council's massive warship looms in Earth's orbit, its presence a stark reminder of humanity's newfound vulnerability. A booming voice echoes across every communication channel on the planet. Kneel or be annihilated. Joseph Morales, former space marine turned salvage operator, clenches his fists as he watches the broadcast. The ultimatum hangs heavy in the air, a suffocating weight pressing down on humanity. As panic spreads across the globe, Joseph's comm link chirps. A message from his estranged mentor flashes across the screen. Ancient tech, derelict ship, Earth's only hope. Without hesitation, Joseph springs into action. He races to the nearest spaceport, adrenaline coursing through his veins. Security is in chaos, overwhelmed by the alien presence above. Joseph seizes the opportunity, commandeering a small spacecraft and launching into the sky. As he breaks atmosphere, Joseph's sensors light up. Voth interceptors, sleek and deadly, converge on his position. He grits his teeth, pushing the stolen craft to its limits. The ship groans under the strain as Joseph weaves through a hail of energy blasts, the Earth blockade falling behind him. Hours later, Joseph's craft docks with an enormous derelict vessel floating in the depths of space. Its hull is scarred and pitted, bearing witness to ancient battles. As the airlock cycles, Joseph steps into the abandoned corridors of what he now recognizes as a precursor warship. The air is stale, filled with the quiet hum of dormant systems. Joseph's boots echo on metal floors as he navigates the maze-like interior. Suddenly, a figure emerges from the shadows. Joseph raises his weapon, but the stranger speaks first. "I am Cora," the alien says, her scaled skin marking her as Voth. "I seek to prevent my people's conquest of your world." Joseph hesitates, then lowers his gun. "I'm looking for something that can save Earth. You in?" Cora nods, and an uneasy alliance is formed. Together, they delve deeper into the ship, searching for its legendary armor. The vessel seems to awaken around them, lights flickering to life in their wake. They reach a massive door marked with alien script. As it slides open, Joseph and Cora step into an armory that defies imagination. Lining the walls are exoskeletal combat suits, their design more advanced than anything humanity has ever created. As Joseph approaches one of the suits, the ship's defense systems roar to life. Security drones pour from hidden compartments, their weapons trained on the intruders. Joseph and Cora fight back to back, their disparate combat styles forming a deadly dance. In the chaos, Joseph reaches the nearest suit. The moment his hand touches the metallic surface, it springs to life, unfolding and encasing his body. He gasps as the armor interfaces with his nervous system, power surging through every fiber of his being. With newfound strength, Joseph tears through the drones like paper. Cora, meanwhile, accesses a nearby console, her fingers flying over alien controls. The ship's database comes to life, revealing the truth about the precursors, an ancient race of guardians, protectors of developing civilizations. "The armor," Cora exclaims, "it's meant for champions who defend younger species from threats like the Galactic Council." Before they can process this revelation, alarms blare throughout the ship. A Voth strike team has boarded, having tracked Joseph's stolen craft. The newly armored human turns to face this new threat, his enhanced abilities itching for a real test. As Joseph engages the Voth soldiers, demonstrating power that rivals their most elite warriors, Cora works frantically to bring the ancient ship's weapons online. The entire vessel shudders as long-dormant systems flicker to life. In orbit around a distant moon, the Galactic Council's flagship detects an enormous energy surge. It alters course, moving to intercept the awakening precursor ship. Joseph and Cora exchange a determined look. They've found the power to challenge the Council's dominance, but the real battle is just beginning. Earth's fate now rests in their hands, and the clock is ticking. As the precursor ship hummed with newfound energy, Joseph and Cora's moment of triumph was short-lived. The vessel's systems flickered and sputtered, struggling to maintain power. "Something's wrong," Cora said, her scaled fingers dancing across the alien console. "The main power core is depleted. We're running on auxiliary systems." Joseph's mind raced, his years as a salvage operator kicking in. "We need a new power source," he said, scanning the ship's readouts. "Something compatible with this ancient tech." Cora's eyes widened. "The debris field outside. It's full of derelict ships. One of them might have what we need." Without hesitation, Joseph and Cora sprinted back to the small craft they'd arrived in. As they approached, Joseph felt the exosuit respond to his thoughts, enhancing his movements. He leapt into the pilot's seat, the armor interfacing seamlessly with the ship's controls. They burst from the precursor vessel's hangar, plunging into a sea of twisted metal and shattered hulls. Joseph weaved through the debris with inhuman precision, his enhanced reflexes guiding them past jagged chunks of wreckage. "There!" Cora pointed to a sleek, partially intact ship floating amid the chaos. "A Voth scout vessel. Its power core should be compatible." Joseph brought their craft alongside the derelict scout ship. He turned to Cora, his voice tight with urgency. "I'll go. The suit will protect me. You keep watch." Before Cora could protest, Joseph was out the airlock. He propelled himself through the vacuum, the exosuit's thrusters responding to his slightest movement. As he approached the Voth ship, he felt a surge of power coursing through him. With a thought, energy coalesced around his fist. He struck the hull, tearing through reinforced metal smoothly. Inside the Voth vessel, Joseph moved with purpose. His HUD highlighted the ship's systems, guiding him to the power core. As he worked to extract it, Cora's voice crackled through his comm. "Joseph, we've got company. Multiple Voth signatures approaching fast." He gritted his teeth, redoubling his efforts. The power core came free with a shower of sparks. Joseph turned, core in hand, just as the first energy blast streaked past their position. Cora's voice was tense as she maneuvered their small craft through the storm of weapons fire. "Hurry!" Joseph launched himself from the Voth ship, clutching the precious power core. Enemy fighters swarmed around them, their shots illuminating the debris field. He watched in awe as Cora piloted their craft with surprising skill, using the floating wreckage as cover. As he neared their ship, a Voth fighter swooped in, its weapons locked on Cora. Without thinking, Joseph thrust out his hand. A pulse of energy erupted from his palm, catching the fighter's wing. It spiraled out of control, crashing into a larger piece of debris. Joseph slammed into their craft's airlock, the exosuit absorbing the impact. As the door sealed behind him, Cora's voice filled the cabin. "I can't shake them. There's too many." He strapped himself in, mind racing. Then he saw it, a massive cylindrical object floating nearby. The reactor core of an old space station, its housing cracked and leaking radiation. "There!" he shouted, pointing. "Get us close to that reactor." Cora complied, confusion evident in her voice. As they neared the unstable reactor, Joseph reached out with the exosuit's enhanced systems. He felt the power building, focusing it into a concentrated beam. With a thought, he released it, slicing through the reactor's outer shell. "Pull up," he yelled. Cora yanked on the controls, their ship rocketing away just as the reactor detonated. The explosion engulfed the pursuing Voth fighters, the shockwave catapulting their small craft towards the precursor ship. They crash-landed in the hangar, the stolen craft's hull screaming as it skidded across the deck. Joseph was out of his seat in an instant, power core in hand. "Come on!" They raced through the ancient corridors, the ship's systems flickering around them. In the engine room, Joseph and Cora worked feverishly to integrate the Voth power core. As they made the final connections, the ship surged to life. Lights blazed, and a deep thrum resonated through the hull. Their elation was cut short as a new alert blared. Cora rushed to a nearby console, her expression darkening. "The navigation systems are locked. We can't set a course for Earth." Joseph joined her, staring at the alien symbols scrolling across the screen. "Can you decode it?" Cora shook her head. "It will take time. Time we may not have." As if to punctuate her words, Joseph's comm crackled to life. A garbled transmission broke through, the voice distorted but unmistakably human. "Earth under attack, Voth forces, cities falling." Joseph and Cora exchanged grim looks. They had the power of the precursors at their fingertips, but without control of the ship's systems, it was useless. As Cora began the arduous task of deciphering the alien language, Joseph clenched his fists. The exosuit hummed with energy, ready for action. But the real challenge lay ahead, unlocking the secrets of the precursor ship and mastering its advanced technology. Only then could they hope to save Earth from the Galactic Council's invasion. Outside, the stars burned cold and distant. Somewhere out there, the Voth fleet was regrouping, no doubt already on their trail. And beyond, Earth hung in the balance, its fate resting on their shoulders. As Joseph and Cora grappled with the challenge of decoding the precursor ship's navigation systems, a sudden surge of energy pulsed through the vessel. Consoles flickered to life, and a holographic figure materialized before them, its form shifting and flowing like liquid light. "Intruders detected," the figure announced, its voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. "I am Guardian, the custodian of this vessel. You have accessed systems beyond your authorization. Prepare for evaluation." Joseph instinctively raised his hand, the exosuit humming with power. Cora stepped forward, her scaled features set in willpower. "We're not intruders," she said. "We're here to save Earth from the Voth invasion." Guardian's form pulsed, considering her words. "Your intentions will be tested. Prove yourselves worthy, and control of this ship shall be yours. Fail, and you will be ejected into the void." Before either could respond, the ship lurched violently. The holographic displays around them transformed, presenting a harrowing vista of a dense asteroid field. Voth fighters materialized among the rocks, their weapons primed. "Your first trial begins," Guardian intoned. "Navigate this vessel through the field while repelling the attack." Joseph's mind raced as he interfaced with the ship's controls. The exosuit amplified his reflexes, allowing him to process the barrage of information flooding his senses. He gripped the helm, feeling the massive ship respond to his touch. "Cora, I need you on weapons and shields," he called out. She nodded, her fingers flying over the alien console. "Analyzing our defensive capabilities now." The precursor ship surged forward, Joseph guiding it through the treacherous maze of asteroids. A Voth fighter swooped in, energy blasts screaming towards them. Joseph banked hard, narrowly avoiding the attack. "Shields at 80%, Cora reported. "I'm rerouting power to the aft deflectors." Joseph's enhanced senses allowed him to anticipate the fighter's movements. He weaved the massive ship through gaps that seemed impossibly small, the hull groaning under the strain. Cora's voice was a constant presence, calling out enemy positions and shield status. A particularly large asteroid loomed ahead, two Voth fighters using it for cover. Joseph gritted his teeth, an idea forming. "Cora, full power to forward shields. Prepare to fire on my mark." He accelerated towards the asteroid, the Voth fighters breaking formation to avoid a collision. At the last possible moment, Joseph pulled up, skimming the rock's surface. "Now!" Cora fired, the precursor ship's weapons lashing out with terrifying precision. The asteroid exploded, catching the Voth fighters in the blast. As the debris cleared, they found themselves in open space, the simulated battle concluding. Guardian's holographic form reappeared. First trial complete, access granted to additional systems. Joseph exhaled, his hands shaking slightly as he released the controls. He turned to Cora, a grin spreading across his face. "Nice shooting." She returned the smile, her scaled skin glistening with exertion. "Your piloting wasn't bad either. For a human." Their moment of celebration was cut short as new data flooded the ship's displays. Joseph's stomach dropped as he took in the information from the long-range scanners. "Earth," he whispered. The planet's surface was dotted with Voth strongholds, their forces having established a firm foothold. Yet, amid the occupation, pockets of resistance still fought on. Joseph's eyes widened as he recognized a familiar signal pattern. "That's Colonel Steele," he said, pointing to a cluster of human signatures. "He's leading the resistance." Cora studied the data, her expression grim. "The Voth have overwhelming force, but your people are resilient." Before they could discuss further, Guardian's voice rang out once more. "Second trial initiating. A critical weapons component requires repair. You must venture into a hazardous section of the ship to complete this task." The holographic display shifted, highlighting a route through the vessel's interior. Joseph could see fluctuating energy readings pulsing along the path. Those energy signatures look highly unstable, Cora noted, her scientific mind already analyzing the challenge. Joseph nodded, feeling the exosuit adjust to his rising adrenaline. My armor should provide some protection. Your knowledge of xenotech will be crucial in understanding the systems we need to repair. They made their way through the ship's winding corridors, the walls thrumming with terrifying energy. As they entered the hazardous zone, Joseph felt the hair on his arm stand on end, even through the exosuit. Cora moved with purposeful grace, her eyes darting between her handheld scanner and the pulsing conduits around them. The energy fluctuations are increasing in frequency. We need to move quickly. They reached a massive chamber, its center dominated by a pillar of crackling energy. At its base sat a complex array of alien technology, parts of it dark and lifeless. That's our target, Joseph said, approaching the array cautiously. Cora joined him, her fingers hovering over the alien controls. This technology, it's similar to some Voth designs, but far more advanced. It's as if the Voth copied it, Joseph finished. Cora nodded, a troubled look crossing her features. Joseph, there's something you should know. I defected because I discovered evidence of my species' past. We encountered the precursors before, and they protected us, but we turned against them. Joseph absorbed this information as they worked, his enhanced strength allowing him to shift heavy components, while Cora's expertise guided their repairs. Is that why you're helping us? He asked, grunting as he realigned a power coupling. Cora's hands moved deftly over the alien circuitry. Partly, but I've also seen the cost of the Council's conquests. Your world doesn't deserve that fate. As they spoke, the repaired systems hummed to life. The pillar of energy stabilized, its chaotic flares subsiding into a steady glow. Guardian's voice echoed through the chamber. Second trial complete, unlocking access to the ship's database. Suddenly, the air around them filled with holographic displays, each showing streams of alien text and diagrams. Cora's eyes widened as she took in the wealth of information. This is incredible, she breathed. The complete history of the precursors, their technology, their mission to protect developing worlds. As Cora delved into the database, Joseph focused on establishing a secure communication channel with Earth. After several tense moments, a familiar voice crackled through the ship's speakers. This is Colonel Steele. Identify yourself. Joseph felt a surge of relief. Colonel, it's Joseph Morales. I've got some good news and some bad news. The good news is I'm on a precursor ship that might just turn this invasion around. The bad news is we're still learning how to use it. Steele's voice was tight with barely suppressed emotion. Morales, you magnificent bastard! We've got Voth forces breathing down our necks. What's your ETA? Before Joseph could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Cora looked up from the database, her face pale. Joseph, we've got a problem. The Galactic Council's flagship is charging its primary weapon. They're targeting Earth's population centers. Guardian's holographic form materialized once more. Final trial commencing. You must repel a simulated Voth assault using all of this vessel's systems. Prove your worthiness, or Earth falls. Joseph and Cora exchanged determined looks as they rushed back to the bridge. As they took their positions, the ship's sensors lit up with real and simulated threats. The Galactic Council's flagship loomed large among them, its weapon growing brighter by the second. Joseph's hands flew over the controls, the exosuit connecting him more deeply to the ship's systems than ever before. Cora's voice was steady as she called out tactical information, her knowledge of Voth weaknesses proving invaluable. As they faced this ultimate test, Joseph knew that their performance here would determine not just their control of the precursor ship, but the very fate of Earth itself. As they faced this ultimate test, Joseph knew that their performance here would determine not just their control of the precursor ship, but the very fate of Earth. The simulated Voth fighters swarmed around them, their energy weapons flaring against the ship's shields. But as Joseph's hands danced across the alien controls, something changed. The holographic displays flickered, and suddenly the simulated fighters were interspersed with real Voth vessels. Guardian's voice echoed through the bridge. Final trial and reality converge. Neutralize all threats. Joseph's eyes widened as he realized the true nature of their challenge. Cora, We've got real and simulated targets. Can you differentiate? Cora's fingers flew over her console, her brow furrowed in concentration. Working on it. The ship's sensors are adapting, but it's going to take time. The exosuit hummed as Joseph pushed it to its limits, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to process the flood of information. He banked the massive ship hard, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy torpedoes from a very real Voth cruiser. Shields at 65%, Cora called out. We can't take much more of this. Joseph gritted his teeth, his mind racing. The ship's systems were powerful, but he couldn't access their full potential. In a moment of desperation, he made a decision that could cost him everything. Guardian, he shouted, I need to interface directly with the ship's AI. Warning, direct neural interface may cause severe mental strain. Guardian's voice resonated. Do it, Joseph commanded. The exosuit's neural links pulsed, and suddenly, Joseph's mind was awash in a sea of information. Ancient knowledge flooded his consciousness, star maps, weapon schematics, tactical data spanning millennia. He cried out, overwhelmed by the sheer volume of data. Through the haze of information, he heard Cora's voice, distant but urgent. Joseph! Joseph! Can you hear me? He fought to focus, to make sense of the chaotic stream of knowledge. Slowly, patterns emerged. He saw weaknesses in the Voth fleet's formation, understood the intricacies of the precursor ship's weapon systems. Cora, he managed to say, his voice strained. Target coordinates 227 by 84. There's a weak point in their shields. As Cora took control of the ship's defenses, Joseph felt his consciousness slipping. The last thing he saw before blackness took him was a brilliant flash of energy lancing out towards the Voth fleet. When Joseph regained consciousness, he found Cora standing over him, concern etched on her scaled features. Welcome back, she said, helping him to his feet. You've been out for a few minutes. Joseph's head throbbed, but he pushed the pain aside. The Voth fleet? See for yourself, Cora gestured to the view screen. The space around them was littered with debris from destroyed Voth ships. Those that remained were in disarray, their formation shattered. Guardian's holographic form appeared before them. Final trial complete, full access to all systems granted. Joseph and Cora exchanged a look of relief, but their victory was short-lived. A massive energy signature appeared on their sensors, dwarfing everything else. The Galactic Council's flagship, Cora whispered. It's charging its primary weapon. Joseph's mind raced, sifting through the wealth of knowledge he'd gained from the neural interface. The Stellar Forge, he said suddenly. It's our only chance. Cora's eyes widened in recognition. The star-harnessing cannon? Joseph, we don't know if we can control it. We have to try, Joseph replied, his hands already moving over the controls. Start the targeting calculations. I'll get us in position. As Cora began the complex process of aligning the Stellar Forge, Joseph piloted the ship through the chaos of battle. The Voth fleet, regrouping after their initial losses, launched a fresh assault. Suddenly, their sensors lit up with a new threat. Energy-draining missiles incoming, Cora shouted. Joseph's enhanced reflexes kicked in as he executed a series of tight maneuvers, weaving through the barrage. The ship's shields flared as some of the missiles found their mark, draining precious power. Shields at 30%, Cora reported. We can't take another hit like that. Just as all seemed lost, a group of Voth ships broke from their formation, moving to intercept the missiles. Joseph and Cora watched in amazement as these rogue vessels placed themselves between the precursor ship and the incoming threats. Voth dissenters, Cora realized. They're buying us time. Joseph nodded grimly, silently thanking their unexpected allies. Stellar Forge status? Calculations complete, Cora replied. But Joseph, the power required, it could burn out our systems. We might not get a second shot. Then we make this one count, Joseph said, his heart made. As the Galactic Council's flagship loomed before them, its weapon glowing with deadly energy, Joseph and Cora worked in a perfect synchronization. The Stellar Forge hummed to life, drawing power from nearby stars. Firing in 3, 2, 1, Cora counted down. A blinding beam of energy erupted from the precursor ship, cutting through space like a spear of light. It struck the Voth flagship dead center, its shields buckling under the immense power. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a silent flash, the massive ship split apart, secondary explosions rippling along its length. Cheers erupted from the Voth dissenters' ships, their transmissions flooding the precursor vessel's communication channels. But Joseph and Cora had no time to celebrate. Earth still hung in the balance. "Plot a course for Earth," Joseph ordered, his voice hoarse. "We need to end this." As Cora laid in the coordinates, Joseph opened a channel to the planet's surface. "Colonel Steele, do you read me?" After a moment of static, a familiar voice crackled through. "Morales, is that you?" "Yes, sir," Joseph replied. "We've dealt with the Voth flagship, but we need intel on their ground forces." "They're in disarray, but still holding key locations," Steele reported. "I'm sending coordinates for their primary command centers now." As they approached Earth's orbit, Joseph and Cora studied the data from Steele. The precursor ship's cloaking technology allowed them to slip past the remaining Voth forces undetected, but the real challenge lay ahead. "We can't use the Stellar Forge planetside," Cora said, voicing what they both knew. "The collateral damage would be catastrophic." Joseph nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. "We'll have to be precise. Use the ship's smaller weapons, target their command structure." As they prepared to enter Earth's atmosphere, Joseph felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. The precursor ship had given them the power to turn the tide of the invasion, but using that power without devastating the very world they sought to protect would be their greatest test yet. "Ready?" he asked Cora, his hand hovering over the controls. She nodded, her scaled features set with dedication. "Let's take back your world." With that, Joseph engaged the ship's descent protocols. As they plunged towards the cloud cover, the fate of humanity hanging in the balance, he knew their most difficult battles still lay ahead. With a deep breath, Joseph guided the precursor ship through Earth's atmosphere, the vessel's advanced hull technology absorbing the intense heat of re-entry. As they broke through the cloud cover, the devastated landscape of Earth came into view. Cora gasped, her scaled features contorting in shock at the extent of the destruction. Joseph's lips pursed, his grip tightening on the controls. "Activating cloaking technology," he announced, his voice tight with emotion. The ship shimmered and vanished from sight, becoming invisible to both human and Voth sensors. Their first target loomed ahead, the primary Voth command center nestled in the heart of what was once New York City. The once iconic skyline was now a twisted amalgamation of human architecture and alien fortifications. Energy shields shimmered around key structures, while anti-aircraft weaponry bristled from rooftops and windows. Joseph's enhanced senses, coupled with the ship's advanced systems, allowed him to quickly identify weak points in the Voth defenses. He relayed this information to Cora, who began analyzing the energy signatures of the shields. "If we can disrupt the main power node here," Cora said, pointing to a holographic display, "we might be able to create a cascade failure in their shield network." Before Joseph could respond, a familiar voice crackled through the ship's communication system. "Morales, do you copy? This is Colonel Steele." "Loud and clear, Colonel," Joseph replied, relief evident in his voice. "What's your status?" "We're mounting an assault on the Voth command center," Steele explained, his voice tight with tension. "Resistance cells worldwide are coordinating similar attacks. We need you to provide air support and disrupt their communications. Can you do that?" Joseph exchanged a determined look with Cora. "Consider it done, sir." As they approached the heart of Voth-controlled airspace, Joseph's hands danced across the controls. The precursor ship's weapons systems came online, targeting the anti-aircraft emplacements with surgical precision. "Firing now," Joseph announced. Beams of energy lanced out from the ship, striking the Voth defenses. Explosions bloomed across the cityscape as the alien weaponry was systematically destroyed. Cora worked furiously at her console, her fingers flying over the alien interface. "Initiating electronic warfare protocols," she reported, "jamming Voth communications now." The effect was immediate. The organized patterns of Voth aircraft began to falter, their formations breaking apart as confusion spread through their ranks. human resistance fighters seized the opportunity, their aircraft swooping in to engage the disoriented enemy. Suddenly, the ship rocked violently. Joseph's enhanced reflexes kicked in as he banked hard, narrowly avoiding a barrage of energy blasts. Voth fighters had finally pinpointed their location, their advanced sensors piercing through the cloak. "Shields holding at 85%, Cora called out, her voice steady despite the chaos. "They've adapted faster than we anticipated." Joseph gritted his teeth, pushing the ship into a series of evasive maneuvers that would have been impossible for a human pilot. The precursor vessel responded instantly to his commands, weaving through the crowded airspace with impossible grace. As Joseph engaged in a high-stakes dogfight with the Voth fighters, Cora's voice cut through the tension. "Joseph, I'm detecting a massive energy buildup beneath the city. It's like nothing I've ever seen before." Joseph dispatched another Voth fighter before responding. "What are we looking at?" Cora's eyes widened as she interpreted the data. "It appears to be some kind of doomsday device. If activated, it could destroy the entire eastern seaboard." The implications hit Joseph like a physical blow. He made a split-second decision, breaking away from the main battle. "We need to take it out, now." Guiding the ship towards the source of the energy signature, Joseph activated the Stellar Forge. He reduced its power to a fraction of its full capacity, aiming for precision rather than raw destruction. The beam from the Stellar Forge pierced through layers of reinforced concrete and alien alloys, carving a path straight to the hidden Voth bunker. As the facility was exposed, Cora's sensors picked up a familiar energy signature. "Joseph, the Voth scientist who warned me about the invasion. She's in there." Without hesitation, Joseph maneuvered the ship to land atop the exposed bunker. He rose from his seat, the exosuit humming as it powered up. "I'm going in. We need to extract that scientist and secure the device." Cora stood as well, her expression resolute. "I'm coming with you. You'll need my knowledge of Voth technology to disarm that thing." Joseph nodded, knowing there was no time to argue. They made their way to the ship's exit, arming themselves with precursor weapons. As the hatch opened, the sounds of battle filled the air, the clash of human resistance fighters and Voth defenders echoing through the ruins of New York. With a shared look of grit, Joseph and Cora stepped out of the safety of the precursor ship and into the heart of the conflict. The fate of Earth hung in the balance as they prepared to descend into the Voth bunker, facing whatever challenges awaited them in the depths below. As Joseph and Cora descended into the depths of the Voth bunker, the air grew thick with tension. Their precursor weapons hummed with energy, casting an eerie glow on the alien architecture surrounding them. The sound of distant explosions reverberated through the structure, a stark reminder of the battle raging above. They moved swiftly through winding corridors, dispatching Voth guards with precision. Joseph's enhanced reflexes allowed him to anticipate and counter every attack, while Cora's knowledge of Voth technology proved invaluable in bypassing security systems. As they reached the heart of the facility, they encountered Dr. Zira, the Voth scientist who had warned Cora about the invasion. She was frantically working at a console, her scaled hands flying over the controls. "Dr. Zira," Cora called out, lowering her weapon. The Voth scientist spun around, her eyes wide with surprise and relief. "Cora, you made it. We must hurry. The doomsday device is set to detonate in minutes." Joseph stepped forward, his exosuit's sensors already scanning the room. "Show us what we need to do." Working together, the unlikely trio raced against time to disarm the device. Joseph's enhanced cognitive abilities allowed him to quickly grasp the complex alien technology, while Cora and Dr. Zira provided crucial insights. With seconds to spare, they managed to shut down the device, averting catastrophe. As the facility began to crumble around them, Joseph led the way back to the surface. They emerged into chaos, the New York skyline ablaze with the fury of battle. The precursor ship hovered above, a beacon amidst the destruction. Colonel Steele's voice crackled through Joseph's comm system. "Morales, status report." "Device neutralized, sir," Joseph replied, his eyes scanning the battlefield. "We've extracted a Voth defector with crucial intelligence." "Good work," Steele responded, the sound of gunfire in the background. "Get back to your ship. We need air support to push these bastards back." Joseph, Cora, and Dr. Zira boarded the precursor vessel, immediately setting to work. As Joseph took the helm, Cora and Dr. Zira began coordinating with resistance cells worldwide, sharing tactical information and Voth weaknesses. The ship's advanced communication systems allowed them to establish a global network, connecting scattered human forces into a cohesive counteroffensive. Joseph piloted the vessel with inhuman precision, providing crucial air support to ground troops while evading Voth defenses. As the tide of battle began to turn, alarms blared throughout the ship. Cora's eyes widened as she interpreted the data. Joseph, we're picking up massive energy signatures across the globe. It's unlike anything we've seen before. Dr. Zira gasped, her scaled features paling. Titan walkers! They've deployed the Titan walkers! Joseph's mind raced, processing the new threat. The precursor ship, while powerful, couldn't be everywhere at once. They needed to level the playing field. Cora, can we use the ship's fabrication systems to create more exosuits? He asked, already formulating a plan. Cora nodded, her fingers flying over the controls. It's possible, but the bonding process is risky. Who would we even give them to? Start with Colonel Steele, Joseph decided. We need someone we can trust to defend North America while we take the fight to the Voth leadership. As Cora and Dr. Zira worked to create a scaled-down version of the precursor armor, Joseph set course for the Resistance's makeshift headquarters. Colonel Steele met them on a debris-strewn runway, his face grim but determined. This suit will give you abilities similar to mine, Joseph explained as Steele eyed the gleaming armor. But the bonding process is painful. Are you sure about this? Steele's expression resolute firmly. If it gives us a fighting chance, I'll endure whatever's necessary. The process was excruciating, Steele's agonized cries echoing through the ship. But when it was over, the colonel stood tall, power thrumming through his new exosuit. Defend North America, Joseph instructed, clasping Steele's armored shoulder. We're going after the Voth leadership. With Steele deployed, Joseph set course for the Himalayas. Intelligence provided by Dr. Zira had revealed the location of the Voth's secondary command center, nestled deep within the mountain range. As they approached, the full might of the Voth's defenses became apparent. Swarms of fighter craft filled the sky, while a massive planetary defense cannon, built from stolen precursor technology, tracked their approach. Joseph's hands danced across the controls, guiding the ship through a maelstrom of energy blasts and missiles. Cora and Dr. Zira worked frantically to counter the Voth's adapting strategies, their combined knowledge pushing the ship's systems to their limits. Despite their efforts, a searing blast from the planetary defense cannon struck the ship's hull. Alarms blared as Joseph fought to maintain control, guiding the damaged vessel towards a narrow ledge on the mountainside. As the ship shuddered to a halt, Joseph knew their options were limited. He stood, his exosuit humming to life. I'm going in on foot. Cora, you're with me. Dr. Zira, can you repair the ship? The Voth scientist nodded, already assessing the damage. I'll do my best. Be careful in there. Zarketh is not to be underestimated. Joseph and Cora exited the ship, the bitter Himalayan wind whipping around them. Ahead loomed the entrance to the Voth base, carved into the very mountain itself. They shared a determined look before advancing, precursor weapons at the ready. As they fought their way through waves of Voth defenders, Joseph's enhanced senses picked up fragments of panicked communication. The human counteroffensive was gaining ground worldwide, sowing chaos among the alien ranks. Deeper they pressed into the heart of the facility, the architecture growing more ominous with each level. Finally, they reached a massive chamber dominated by a swirling vortex of energy. The portal. And there, before the crackling gateway, stood Supreme Commander Zar Keith. The Voth leader's massive frame was encased in a formidable exosuit, his reptilian eyes gleaming with malice. So, Zar Keith's voice boomed, the human vermin have found their way to the heart of our operation. No matter. Soon our reinforcements will arrive, and your pitiful resistance will be crushed. Joseph stepped forward, his own exosuit pulsing with precursor energy. That's not going to happen. With a roar, Zar Keith charged. Joseph met the Voth leader head-on, the clash of their advanced armor echoing through the chamber. As the two warriors engaged in a brutal contest of strength and skill, Cora raced towards the portal controls. The fate of Earth hung in the balance as Joseph pushed his enhanced abilities to their limit, trading earth-shattering blows with the Voth Supreme Commander. Each impact sent shockwaves through the facility, the very mountain trembling around them. Cora's fingers flew over the alien controls, her mind working furiously to decipher and disable the portal. The energy vortex pulsed and writhed, growing more unstable with each passing second. As Joseph and Zar Keith's battle reached a fever pitch, the portal's instability threatened to tear apart the very fabric of space-time. The outcome of this conflict would determine not just the fate of Earth, but potentially the entire universe. Joseph's exosuit creaked under the strain as he grappled with Zarketh, their titanic struggle sending shockwaves through the chamber. The Voth commander's strength was immense, but Joseph's enhanced reflexes allowed him to anticipate and counter each devastating blow. Cora's fingers danced across the alien console, her mind racing to decipher the complex portal controls. The swirling vortex pulsed erratically, its energy signature growing more unstable by the second. "Joseph, we're running out of time," Cora shouted over the din of battle. "The portal's becoming increasingly unstable. I need more time to shut it down." Joseph ducked under a vicious swipe from Zarketh, the Voth leader's claws leaving deep gouges in the chamber wall. "Working on it," he grunted, retaliating with a series of rapid strikes to Zarketh's midsection. The facility shuddered, and alarms blared as the portal's instability threatened to tear apart the very fabric of spacetime. Suddenly, a familiar voice crackled through their communication channels. "Joseph, Cora, can you hear me?" Dr. Zira's voice was tinged with urgency. "I've repaired the ship's essential systems. What's your status?" "A little busy," Joseph replied, narrowly avoiding a crushing blow from Zarketh. Cora's eyes widened as she processed new data streaming across her console. "Dr. Zira, the portal's becoming critical. We need to shut it down now, or the consequences could be catastrophic." As Zira fed them crucial information about the base's layout and the portal's weaknesses, Joseph redoubled his efforts against Zarketh. He feinted left, then delivered a devastating right hook enhanced by his exosuit's power. The blow connected with a resounding crack, sending the Voth commander staggering backward. Zarketh roared in pain and fury, his reptilian eyes blazing with hatred. "You think you've won, human? Even now our reinforcements approach. Your world will burn." As if summoned by his words, the portal pulsed violently. A massive Voth battlecruiser began to materialize, its imposing form slowly taking shape within the swirling vortex. "Cora, now!" Joseph shouted, pressing his advantage against the dazed Zarketh. With a final, desperate push, Cora overrode the last failsafe. The portal's energy signature fluctuated wildly, then began to collapse in on itself. The battlecruiser, caught between dimensions, shuddered as it was violently pulled into real space. Zarketh, seeing his plans crumbling around him, let out a bellow of rage. He smacked his fist against a hidden panel on his exosuit, triggering a dead man's switch. Klaxons immediately began to wail throughout the facility. "Self-destruct sequence initiated," an emotionless voice announced. "All personnel evacuate immediately." Joseph's enhanced senses picked up the sound of multiple teleportation beams activating. Fresh Voth troops from the battlecruiser were deploying throughout the base, complicating their already precarious situation. "We need to move, now!" Joseph called out to Cora, delivering a final crushing blow to Zarketh that left the Voth leader unconscious. As they raced towards the exit, dodging falling debris and failing systems, Joseph's enhanced hearing picked up muffled cries coming from a nearby chamber. He skidded to a halt, Cora nearly colliding with him. "What is it?" she asked, her eyes darting nervously at the chaos around them. "Prisoners?" Joseph replied grimly. "Human prisoners. We can't leave them." Without waiting for a response, he charged towards the source of the sounds. They found a group of haggard-looking humans locked in a makeshift holding cell, fear and hope warring in their eyes as they saw their would-be rescuers. Joseph's exosuit made short work of the cell's locking mechanism. As the freed prisoners stumbled out, Cora's comm unit crackled to life. "The base is going critical," Dr. Zira's voice was urgent. "I've brought the ship as close as I can. There's a maintenance shaft 2 levels up that should lead you out. Hurry!" Joseph took point, his enhanced strength allowing him to clear debris and forge a path for the others. They fought their way through waves of newly arrived Voth soldiers, the prisoners who were able assisting with captured weapons. As they neared the maintenance shaft, the facility shuddered violently. Cracks spread across the walls and ceiling, and the air grew thick with dust and smoke. 30 seconds to detonation, the emotionless voice announced. They emerged onto a narrow ledge, the wind whipping around them as they saw the precursor ship hovering nearby, its shield extended to create a safe passage. Without hesitation, Joseph began ushering the prisoners across. A barrage of energy blast from pursuing Voth troops forced Joseph and Cora to return fire, buying precious seconds for the escapees. As the last prisoner made it to safety, Joseph turned to Cora. "Go!" he shouted over the wind and weapons fire. "I'll hold them off." Cora hesitated for a split second, then nodded grimly. She sprinted across the energy bridge, her form shimmering as she passed through the shield. Joseph turned to face the oncoming Voth, his precursor weapon humming with power. Time seemed to slow as his enhanced senses and reflexes kicked into overdrive. He dodged and weaved through a storm of energy blasts, each shot from his weapon finding its mark with deadly precision. 10 seconds to detonation. The ledge began to crumble beneath Joseph's feet, with one final, sweeping blast that sent the remaining Voth troops tumbling into the abyss. He turned and ran. His exosuit's power propelled him forward in mighty leaps, as the mountain itself seemed to come apart around him. 5, 4, 3. Joseph pushed his suit to its limits, crossing the energy bridge in a blur of motion. He felt the shield ripple around him as he passed through, milliseconds before a massive explosion rocked the entire mountain range. The precursor ship's engines flared to life, rocketing them away from the collapsing facility. Through the view screen, they watched as the Voth base erupted in a cataclysmic fireball, sending shockwaves across the Himalayan peaks. As they gained altitude, however, their momentary relief was cut short. Multiple smaller portals winked into existence around the globe, disgorging more Voth ships. The destruction of the main portal had limited the invasion force, but Earth now faced a renewed threat from these desperate reinforcements. Joseph's mind raced, assessing their options. They had struck a significant blow against the Voth leadership, but the war was far from finished. As Dr. Zira set course for the nearest human resistance stronghold, Joseph turned to address their newly freed companions. "I know you've all been through hell," he began, his voice firm but compassionate. "But Earth needs every fighter it can get. We have weapons and armor that can turn the tide of this war. Who's with me?" As determined faces looked back at him, Joseph felt a glimmer of hope. They had won a crucial battle, but the real test still lay ahead. With renewed purpose, they soared towards their next confrontation, ready to take the fight to the invaders. A chorus of determined voices answered his call, the freed prisoners standing tall despite their ordeal. As they approached the human resistance stronghold, Joseph's mind raced with possibilities. The intelligence from the Voth defector burned in his thoughts, a key to potentially ending this war once and for all. Upon landing, Joseph wasted no time. He gathered Colonel Steele, Dr. Zira, Cora, and the resistance leaders in a secure command center. The air crackled with tension as Joseph laid out the defector's information. "The Voth have one final stronghold," he explained, gesturing to a holographic display. "A massive space station in Earth's orbit. It's their last command center and houses a device capable of terraforming our planet to suit Voth physiology." Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Colonel Steele leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "If they activate that device, Earth as we know it will be gone," Dr. Zira finished grimly. Joseph nodded, his face set with iron will. "Which is why we need to strike now before they can use it. I propose a multi-pronged assault." He outlined his plan, detailing how human forces would engage Voth ground troops globally, while a fleet of spacecraft would assault the orbital station. As he spoke, holographic displays shifted, showing troop movements and attack vectors. "It's risky," Colonel Steele admitted, stroking his chin, "but it might be our only shot." Within hours, the plan was set in motion. Joseph found himself back in the pilot's seat of the precursor ship, leading a ragtag fleet of human spacecraft and Voth dissident vessels. As they broke atmosphere, the vastness of space stretched before them, the Voth space station looming in the distance. Multiple contacts, Cora announced, her fingers dancing across the ship's interface. The remaining Voth fleet is moving to intercept. Joseph's enhanced reflexes kicked in as enemy fire lit up the void. He weaved the precursor ship through a barrage of energy blasts, the vessel responding to his commands with preternatural speed. "Evasive maneuvers," he called out. "Dr. Zira, Cora, see if you can hack their systems. We need to punch a hole in their defenses." As Joseph's piloting skills were pushed to their limits, Cora and Dr. Zira worked in perfect synchronization. Their combined knowledge of Voth and precursor technology allowed them to exploit weaknesses in the enemy's cyber defenses. "We're in!" Dr. Zira exclaimed. "Disabling their targeting systems now!" The effect was immediate. The precision of the Voth attack faltered, creating openings in their defensive line. Joseph seized the opportunity, pushing the precursor ship forward. A familiar voice crackled over the comm. "This is Colonel Steele. We've got your back, Joseph." A squadron of fighters, retrofitted with precursor-derived technology, swooped in. They engaged the Voth ships with surprising effectiveness, clearing a path towards the station. As they neared their target, Joseph could see the immense scale of the Voth stronghold. It dwarfed even the largest human space stations, its surface overflowing with weapon emplacements and defensive shields. "Cora, find us a way in," Joseph ordered, his eyes scanning for vulnerabilities. "There!" She pointed to a section of the station where the shields flickered. "A docking port. The shields are weakest there." Joseph angled the ship towards the opening, dodging debris and enemy fire. With a bone-jarring impact, they connected with the station's hull. "Docking complete," Joseph announced, rising from his seat. He turned to face a small team of elite soldiers, each encased in exosuits of their own. "This is it. We go in hard and fast. Our objective is the central control room. That's where we'll find the terraforming device." As the airlock cycled open, Joseph took point. The familiar hum of his precursor armor filled his senses as he stepped into the alien corridor. The first wave of Voth defenders met them almost immediately, energy weapons flaring to life. Joseph's enhanced reflexes allowed him to dodge the incoming fire with inhuman speed. He closed the distance rapidly, his own weapon leaving a trail of unconscious Voth in his wake. His team followed, their adapted exosuits providing protection against the Voth weaponry. They fought their way through winding corridors and vast chambers, each step bringing them closer to the heart of the station. Joseph's senses were on high alert, processing every sound, every movement with lightning speed. "Joseph," Cora's voice came through his comm, "we're detecting a power surge. The terraforming device, they're powering it up." "Understood," Joseph replied, his voice tight with tension. "We're almost there. Hold them off as long as you can." As they approached the central control room, a new threat emerged. A group of Voth elites, their armor gleaming with advanced technology, blocked their path. At their head stood a towering figure, his bearing unmistakably that of a Galactic Council member. "So," the Voth leader's voice boomed, "the human vermin have made it this far. Your efforts are futile. Soon your world will be remade in our image." Joseph stepped forward, his precursor armor humming with power. "That's not going to happen." The battle that ensued was unlike anything Joseph had experienced before. The Voth elites moved with deadly precision, their weapons capable of punching through the lesser exosuits of his team. Joseph found himself pushed to the limit, his enhanced abilities barely keeping pace with the onslaught. Yet as the fight raged on, Joseph's combat experience began to tell. He anticipated his opponent's moves, countering with devastating efficiency. One by one, the Voth elites fell, until only the council member remained. Their final duel was a blur of motion and energy discharges. Joseph's precursor armor crackled with power as he deflected and returned blows. With a final decisive strike, he sent the Voth leader crashing to the ground. Panting heavily, Joseph turned to the control room entrance. "Secure the area," he ordered his remaining team members. "I'm going in." As the doors slid open, Joseph's eyes widened at the sight before him. The terraforming device dominated the center of the room, its energy readings spiking dangerously. He rushed to the control panel, his armor interfacing with the Voth systems. "Joseph!" Cora's voice was urgent in his ear. "We're detecting a massive power surge. Something's wrong." As Joseph struggled to shut down the device, he realized the terrible truth. The Voth had initiated a self-destruct sequence. With no time to disarm it, he made a split-second decision that would alter the course of the battle and potentially the fate of Earth itself.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.